So, like all Western countries, Canada has its fair share of far-left activist journalists. And this video I'm going to show you is a great example of that. And we'll watch this in a second. This is a video of Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the official opposition in Canada, the Conservative Party. This is a video of him dealing with one such activist journalist. But first, I want to just give you some quick context. Now, these are crime statistics from the Government of Canada. And we have three lines here. Crime Severity Index, it's the light blue line. We have the dark blue line, which is the Violent Crime Severity Index. And then the red one is the Nonviolent Crime Severity Index. 2015 was the year that Justin Trudeau took office. And for the 9 years previous, Stephen Harper, the Conservative leader, had been in office. And you can see that during his time, there was a precipitous drop in crime of just all kinds in Canada. As you can see in 2015, when Justin Trudeau takes over, all of a sudden it starts rising again for some reason. You can see there's a bit of a glitch here when the coup started, and that was similar to everywhere. And this only goes up to 2021. But even still at that time, it didn't really affect violent crime very much, which is still rising. And again, this only goes up to 2021, so it's just kept going up from there. In fact, violent crime is up 33% in Canada since Justin Trudeau took power. So I guess this just goes to prove you can either have a great prime minister or you can have the wokest, bestest feminist ever. You can't have both. But anyway, let's listen to Pierre dealing with this mind-numbingly stupid journalist. And I have to warn you, this contains possibly fatal levels of cringe.
When you talk about bail, the crime has already happened, or the alleged crime has already happened. So how can you attribute bail to this increase in crime and should there not be more supportive measures to prevent the crime in the first place?
You can see here that Pierre must be thinking to himself, well, this guy can't be that stupid, can he? Oh, yeah. Yeah, he can.
Well, you're talking about someone who's been on bail. They've already allegedly committed the crime. So
they're committing crimes on bail. That's the problem. The problem is, I'll give you an example. In Vancouver, the same 40 offenders were arrested 6,000 times in a year. That's 150 arrests per offender per year. Why? Because they're arrested in the morning, then they're released on bail by noon, they reoffend, they're back in jail by 2 in the afternoon, and then they're released by the evening so that they can commit their final crime before they go to bed.
It's a failure of the system to not support people who have committed crimes, gone to jail, served their sentence, and then they're committing another crime. So is this not a failure of things like social services and support for people who have committed crimes?
Are you serious?
I'm asking you a
No,
question.
I mean, are you serious? Come on. You're telling me, no, excuse me, let me answer your question. Are you honestly saying that it's society's fault if a repeat violent offender commits 60 or 70 offenses? I think that criminal is to blame for his own actions. He is personally responsible. We're not talking about some kid who made one mistake when he was 19. We're talking about people who do 60, 70 violent offenses.
Why do those people
and then they're, because they're criminals.
But why are they criminals?
Because they do crime.
And why do they do crime?
Because we let them out early on bail.
So because they
I
got
think we've
let
solved
out,
the riddle here.
because they got let out early on bail.
That's right.
They then commit the crime.
That's right.
So
that's what all the experts agree is the cause of the crime.
So had they stayed in jail the whole time, on bail, in jail, not on bail, as you say, they would then not commit crimes?
Because they'd be in jail, so they couldn't commit crimes.
And when they get out at the end of their sentence, they're crime-free?
Well, we can't guarantee that, but what we can guarantee is the period when they're behind bars, they will not be able to do crime.
Ugh. This journalist is a woke cult member who is incapable of seeing reason. The problem is never the far-left policies themselves. It's that they're not far-left enough, no matter how badly the policies fail. It's just that they didn't go far-left enough. They have no other explanation for anything other than that everything is a zero-sum game between oppressed and oppressors. And can you guess who the oppressed are? It's the criminals. Can you guess who the oppressors are? It's you. Well, unless you're a criminal. Now, one thing that's at issue right now, too, is there was a bill called Bill C-75 from 2019. And the bill said that judges should give particular consideration when deciding on bail, quote, to the circumstances of Aboriginal accused and accused who belong to a vulnerable population that is overrepresented in the criminal justice system. Yeah, it turns out this may just be ideologically motivated and actually not be to the benefit of anybody, including the vulnerable populations. Now, it looks like there may actually be some movement on this. Here from the CBC, Liberal government promises to tighten bail access as crime surges. If even the CBC is admitting that crime is surging, you know it's bad. It says here that Poilievre has been pushing the Liberal government to reverse Bill C-75, a law it passed in 2019 that updated bail provisions in the criminal code. Poilievre has called the legislation, quote, Justin Trudeau's catch and release bill because, he said, it makes it harder to confine accused criminals in jail. Quote, what we need to do is keep the small number of repeat, habitual violent offenders behind bars and, when they're newly arrested, deny them bail until such time as their trials are completed. And I will admit that bail is a tricky one. You don't want incarceration before a trial being something that's abused, especially for political reasons, which is something that people might worry about under a Trudeau government, for instance. But if we're talking about repeat habitual violent offenders, then perhaps that's the pragmatic place where we have to make a stand. But when it comes to violent crime in Canada, bail reform isn't the only story. It's also harm reduction, the so-called harm reduction policies, the same ones that have gone spectacularly badly in places like Vancouver, British Columbia. And so-called harm reduction policies just end up normalizing drug use, drug addiction, homelessness. You end up, like in Vancouver, you ended up with an order of magnitude greater overdose deaths since harm reduction was introduced in 2005. So with increased drug use, you're going to get increased crime. You're going to get increased violent crime. That's a part of the problem too. And spoiler alert, you can blame a lot of that on Trudeau too. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. Sharing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.